Unit 9, page 87. Watch the lecture. Part D. Listen for details.
Today, we're going to look at a relatively new global epidemic. Now, when most people hear the word epidemic, they think of an infectious disease that spreads quickly, like hepatitis or Ebola. However, infectious diseases are just one type of epidemic. Today, we're going to talk about another kind of epidemic, one that is non-infectious. This is the epidemic of obesity, which is now officially a global health problem. Obesity is a health condition in which a person has an excess amount of body fat. The World Health Organization, also known as the WHO, measures obesity by body mass index, or BMI. The formula for calculating your BMI is your body weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. An adult BMI of 18.5 to 25 is considered normal. 30 and up is considered obese. According to the WHO, worldwide obesity has more than doubled in the past 35 years. Today, approximately 600 million adults are considered obese, and obesity in children has increased sharply. One of the countries with the highest percentage of obese people is the United States, with a whopping 33%, according to the National Institutes of Health. That's probably no surprise because the US, like the UK and Japan, is a developed country. But what's important to point out is that the number of individuals classified as obese is now increasing at a faster rate in economically developing countries like Brazil, China, and India. And surprisingly, the rate of increase for children in these economically developing countries is 30% greater than in developed countries. So, that's what's going on. The world is putting on weight at an alarming rate. Today, we want to look at the causes of this new epidemic, which are economic, social, and behavioral. From an economic standpoint, something has clearly changed. In the past, obesity was considered a disease of affluence. This means that typically only affluent people became obese. Why? Because wealthy people were the ones who could afford to eat lots of rich foods and enjoy the leisurely kinds of lifestyles that led to being overweight. Nowadays, obesity is no longer just a disease of the affluent. Increasingly, we're witnessing the occurrence of obesity all over the world with middle and low income people. Why? Because more and more people are adopting a modern lifestyle. Increased use of technology for work and leisure, less physical activity, greater use of cars, growing access to inexpensive, high-fat, high-sugar fast food. But there's something else going on here. We're seeing a social or cultural shift. The food people prefer is changing. We now see fast food replacing traditional food in many parts of the world. We're also seeing a behavioral shift. The role of food is changing. Food is being used as entertainment, as a stress release. We all have easy access to sweet and fatty foods and drinks. Modern life also presents conveniences that give us choices about activity. If you can take the escalator or walk up the stairs in a train station, which will you choose? If you can drive your car versus biking to work or school, what will you decide? If you can play a video game or take a walk, which will you do? So in addition to economics, social and behavioral factors contribute to obesity. In short, we're seeing that as countries develop economically, people make lifestyle changes that seem like improvements, but actually have a negative impact on their health. So, we know obesity is a growing global epidemic. And we also know from research that any successful obesity treatment program must have a 3-level approach. It must focus on nutrition, lifestyle, and strong community support. So, what can and are public health workers doing to respond to this epidemic? First, for nutrition, people are encouraged to eat more fruits, vegetables, and grains, less sugar and fat. And families are encouraged to have shared meal times rather than grabbing fast foods throughout the day. In Finland, for example, officials are addressing the problem of obesity in children by changing the food standards in daycares and schools. They're working to reduce access to sugary, high-fat snacks and drinks in school vending machines. In another example, China now has a national healthy eating campaign that encourages people to eat a more traditional diet and less fast food. Second, for lifestyle. We know children need 60 minutes of vigorous physical activity every day. And for adults, at least 30 minutes a day is recommended. But we also know it doesn't work simply to tell people to be more active. We have to find ways to include activity into daily routines. A number of global companies, like Genentech and Zappos, are now including dance classes and gym sessions during the workday. And schools in Japan are now implementing new guidelines to be sure students get a minimum of an hour of physical activity during the school day. And third, we know that individuals are only likely to change their habits if they have strong group support. Community-based programs can be set up at a school, at a company, in a neighborhood. We can see examples of this kind of support happening in Nigeria, where there are neighborhood programs to teach families about nutrition, or in the US, where cities organize programs like Keep Moving or weight loss programs. To sum up, we know obesity is now a global epidemic. The fact that the rate is increasing, especially for children, is a call to action. And there are complex economic, social, and behavioral factors why people become obese. I'd like you to make a list of 5 questions you would ask if you were a public health worker assigned to talk to a family that was obese. What questions would you ask about their daily habits and lifestyle? Okay, see you next time.